One of the things I'd like to start doing on the channel is going through stories and seeing how much they shape our lives. And I don't mean stories with like cute little lessons. I mean like symbols and ideas that have survived across continents throughout centuries and in many religions that have survived human tradition. For example, how many stories have a dragon that needs to be vanquished? The dragon usually represents the hero's greatest fear. And if the hero beats him, he gets access to whatever the dragon is guarding, which is usually some kind of immense treasure like gold or finding love. I'll start this series off with a story of my own. For me, the dragon was confronting and dealing with feelings of insecurity and anger that dated all the way back into my childhood regarding my father. My father wasn't the greatest, to say the least. He was almost never present in my life, and when he was, it probably did more damage than when he was gone. There were times where I'd go several years without even seeing him. And one day I was just working through a lot of things and journaling, and something inside me knew that I wouldn't resolve what I needed to unless I had a conversation with my father. Just the thought of facing this dragon seemed crazy. I hadn't even seen my father in over 7 years. My mom was convinced he had died. I hoped selfishly for my sake that she was wrong so that I could work through the fog that I seemed to be in. My father was an Iraqi war survivor, born and raised in Iraq, and he has somewhat of a spotty history. So I wasn't sure if I'd be met with open arms or some sort of confrontation if I ever did find him. And as far as I knew, he had gone back to Iraq years ago, so it seemed pointless. But I wanted to find whatever gold the dragon was guarding. Rather, the dragon seemed real to me or not, because that dragon was attacking my home. It was leaving me in just a mist. So I needed to find it and confront it once and for all. So I started out by contacting my uncle, a man I hadn't seen in over 15 years. I knew that if my father decided to come back to the States, that my uncle's would be the first place he would probably go. My uncle, too, is an Iraqi war survivor, and once again, I barely knew the man. I didn't know if I'd be met with gunfire or a howdy doody. And that fact almost prevented me from even going. But I contacted a friend of mine, and we decided to make the 40-minute journey there. Both of us were armed with weapons in fear of the ensuing conflict that would arise when we got there, and the car ride was pretty quiet and tense. When I got to his farm, I saw a young man that looked quite a bit like me and quickly realized that this was my cousin. I asked if his father was home, and he didn't recognize me until I introduced myself. When I did, I felt pretty foolish, coming expecting a fight, and my cousin ran up and embraced me. He excitedly welcomed me and brought my friend and I in and introduced us to 5 of my cousins that I'd never even met. My uncle was out of town, but they welcomed us anyway. They cooked tons of food and wined and dined us, and we spent hours telling stories and laughing into the night. They laughed especially hard when I told them that my friend and I came expecting some sort of fight. One of my cousins and I quickly formed a close connection, and we began going out together on hunting trips or just walk into the starry countryside discussing our lives. Eventually, we formed such a close connection that they contacted my father, and he flew all the way from Iraq to the United States to come and see me. It was a rocky and intense meeting, and we had some very serious conversations with some very tough and uncomfortable questions. We both cried a little bit, and in the end, I forgave him. In typical Middle Eastern fashion, he gave me a golden amulet that has been passed down in my families for centuries as an inheritance and as a peace offering. There's actually a quote that goes, "The cave you most fear to enter holds the treasure you seek." I faced my dragon. It was tough and unpleasant at times and required me to spend time and really be courageous. But because of it, I found the treasure I sought. I met and spoke with my father and met several family members that I never even knew I had. I still talk to them often to this day. Family I never would have met otherwise. I even got an actual treasure. Remember this when life's dragons are thrown your way. If you go into that cave and slay it, you will be rewarded. Life has a funny way of testing your resolve, but here's my challenge to you. Go out there and vanquish some dragons. I'm Muslim Alinizi. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to smash that like button, comment, and subscribe for future content. Thank you, and have a great day.